The sky burned with the fires of dying ships. Princess Illyria Vera stood perfectly still on the palace balcony, watching her world end. Her long silver hair blew wildly in the hot wind. Below her, the beautiful city of Kasser Prime was being destroyed. Giant black warships blocked out the sun while explosions lit up the streets. Like terrible fireworks. Her father's last words echoed in her mind. "You must survive, my daughter. Survive to remember us." But looking at the destruction below, Illyria wondered if survival was possible. The Dominion didn't leave survivors, they only left examples. "Your Highness." A soldier ran up to her, his armor cracked and covered in dirt. "We've lost the eastern gates. We must get you to safety." Illyria didn't turn her head. "Where exactly would that be, Captain?" "The Dominion has taken every system." The soldier opened his mouth, but no words came out. He knew she was right. A deep, humming sound filled the air as a Dominion dropship came down toward the palace. Illyria straightened her back and smoothed her torn robes. If she was to be captured, she would meet her enemies with dignity. Inside the grand throne room, Illyria sat upon the ancient seat of her ancestors. The beautiful carvings on the walls showed the history of her people, now being destroyed outside. The doors burst open and black-armored soldiers poured in, their weapons raised. A tall officer stepped forward, his face hidden behind a dark helmet. "Princess Illyria Veda," his voice was like ice. "By order of the Dominion Emperor, you are now our prisoner. Your rule has ended." Illyria kept her face calm. "Then do what you came to do." The officer hesitated, clearly expecting tears or begging. When none came, he motioned to his soldiers. Two large men grabbed Illyria's arms roughly and pulled her from the throne. She didn't struggle. The Dominion loved making examples. They marched Illyria through the ruined streets in heavy chains. The few Kasserine people still alive watched silently as their princess was taken away. Some cried, others looked at the Dominion soldiers with pure hate. A Dominion commander stood on a broken statue to address the crowd. "Let this be a lesson to all who resist us," he shouted. "The Dominion cannot be defeated. Bow down and live." Illyria lifted her head high as she passed her people. She would never bow. The commander noticed her defiance. "This one still has spirit," he laughed, "but will break her soon enough." Later, in a dark meeting room aboard a Dominion ship, important leaders argued about Illyria's fate. "Kill her now," said a scarred general. "No heirs, no rebellion." Another shook his head. "Dead martyrs inspire revolts. Keep her alive but powerless." The emperor raised his hand for silence. "We will send her to the humans," he decided. "Their world is weak and divided. Let her disappear there." Illyria, listening silently from the corner, showed no reaction. The prison ship was cold and smelled of metal. Illyria sat alone in her small cell, rubbing her sore wrists where the chains had been. They'd taken everything from her. Her home, her family, her crown. But she still had her will. A guard laughed at her through the bars. "The humans won't help you, Princess. They're too busy fighting each other to care about aliens." Illyria said nothing. When the ship entered Earth's atmosphere, Illyria was pushed toward the exit doors. "Time to go, Your Highness," a guard sneered. The doors opened with a hiss and blinding sunlight poured in. Illyria was shoved out onto dry, cracked earth. The ship's engines roared as it flew away, leaving her standing alone in the dust. She took a deep breath of the strange air and looked around at the empty landscape. Then a voice spoke behind her. "You look like someone who could use a drink." Illyria turned quickly. A human man stood a few feet away, leaning against a broken wall. He had many scars on his face and wore old military clothes. His sharp eyes studied her carefully. "Who are you?" Illyria asked, keeping her voice steady. "Name's Rook Vance," the man said, pushing away from the wall. "And you're the reason we just got a very interesting message from up there." He pointed at the sky. Illyria frowned. "What message?" Rook smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of a hunter who just found his prey. "A warning," he said, "that the Dominion just made their last mistake." Worn but clean. His posture relaxed yet alert. This was no ordinary scavenger. He carried himself like a soldier. "Come on," Rook said, turning toward a cluster of low buildings in the distance. "You'll want to see this before the sun goes down." Illyria hesitated only a moment before following. The dry earth crunched underfoot as they walked. She noticed Rook kept checking the sky, his hand never far from the weapon at his hip. "You're afraid of Dominion ships?" she asked. Rook snorted. "Not afraid, careful, big difference." He glanced at her. "You should know that better than anyone, Princess." The buildings grew larger as they approached. What had looked like ruins from afar revealed themselves to be carefully maintained structures, their surfaces covered in solar panels. Illyria's eyes widened slightly. This was no primitive settlement. A voice called out from above them. "Clear skies, Rook." A young woman perched on a rooftop waved before disappearing inside. "Security," Rook explained. "We don't get many visitors, even fewer we actually let inside." They entered through a heavy metal door that hissed as it sealed behind. them. The interior was cool and brightly lit, a stark contrast to the barren landscape outside. Illyria's boots clicked against polished floors as Rook led her down a long corridor. "Where are we?" she asked. "New Alexandria," Rook said. "One of the last free cities on Earth. Or what passes for free these days." They emerged into a large circular chamber filled with glowing screens and bustling workers. At the center stood a massive holographic display, showing star systems Illyria recognized immediately. "That's the Cassari border," she whispered, stepping closer. "Was the Cassari border," Rook corrected. He tapped a control panel and the display shifted to show Dominion troop movements. "Now it's just another occupied zone." Illyria's hands clenched at her sides. Seeing her home reduced to colored dots on a screen made her chest ache. "How do you have this information? Earth isn't part of the galactic networks." Rook exchanged glances with a technician nearby. "Officially, no. Unofficially, ... He tapped another command and the image changed to show dozens of hidden outposts. Across the solar system, we never stopped watching. A door slid open and an older woman entered, her white hair tied back sharply. She moved with authority, the others in the room making way for her without being asked. "Director Kessler Rook said respectfully, this is Princess Illyria Vera of Cassar Prime," the woman finished. "Yes, I know." She studied Illyria with piercing gray eyes. "I'm sorry about your people, Your Highness, but their sacrifice may have given us the opportunity we need." Illyria frowned. "What opportunity?" Kessler gestured, and the hologram zoomed out to show the entire Orion arm. Dominion-controlled systems glowed red. "They think they've won. Think we're all broken." She tapped a control, and several yellow dots appeared, hidden human ships near Dominion supply routes. "We've been waiting for the right moment to show them otherwise." Rook stepped forward. "The message we received wasn't just about your arrival, Princess. It was a signal from our deep cover operatives in Dominion space. Their fleet is overextended, vulnerable." Illyria looked between them, understanding, dawning. "You're planning to fight back." "Not just fight," Kessler said. "Win." She turned to the main display. "But we need someone who knows Dominion tactics, their weaknesses, someone who can unite what's left of the resistance." The room fell silent as all eyes turned to Illyria. She stared at the hologram, at the blinking lights representing her conquered homeworld. The weight of their expectation pressed down on her. Then she straightened her shoulders and stepped forward. "Show me what you have." Rook grinned as Kessler began explaining their plans. Illyria listened intently, asking sharp questions that made the technicians nod in approval. For the first time since watching her world burn, she felt something kindling inside her, not just anger, but purpose. Deep in the facility, behind multiple security doors, they showed her their greatest secret. Illyria's breath caught when the lights revealed rows of sleek, advanced warships being assembled in an underground dock. "Project Phoenix," Kessler said proudly, "built from salvaged Dominion tech and human ingenuity, waiting for the right commander." Illyria reached out, her fingers hovering over a ship's hull. The metal felt cool beneath her touch. She turned to face them all, her silver hair catching the artificial light. "When do we begin?" Illyria walked between the rows of sleek warships, her boots clicking against the metal catwalk. Each vessel bore the scars of salvaged Dominion, hull plating welded with human engineering. Rook kept pace beside her, pointing out modifications. "That one's got reinforced plasma coils," he said, tapping a display. "Overheats after 6 shots, but hits like a meteor." Illyria studied the with a critical eye. "Dominion cruisers have weak points here." She traced a line on the schematic. "And here, a precise strike could disable their shields." A young engineer with grease-stained hands looked up in surprise. "That's exactly what we designed these guns." Stodoy glanced at Rook. "She really knows her stuff." Rook smirked. "Told you she wasn't just a pretty face." Illyria ignored the comment, moving to the next ship. "This one's different." "Observation deck," Rook said, his tone shifting. "Come see." They climbed a narrow ladder to an upper platform. Through the reinforced glass, Illyria saw Earth's surface stretching into the distance. Cracked deserts and ruined cities, but also patches of green where nature stubbornly persisted. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Rook said quietly. "Even after everything." Illyria pressed her palm against the cool glass. Cassar had oceans that glowed blue at night. The water was so clear you could see the bottom from cliffs a mile high. Her voice caught slightly. "They poisoned them all when they invaded." Rook didn't offer empty sympathy. Instead, he pointed to a blinking light on the horizon. "That's Dominion Outpost 7, their main base on this continent. We take that out, half their planetary surveillance goes dark." Illyria turned from the window. "In 3 days," Rook said, "but we've got a problem." He led her to a holotable where Director Kessler waited with several officers. The projection showed Earth surrounded by a network of red markers. "Dominion patrol patterns," Kessler explained. "They've increased surveillance since your arrival." She zoomed in on their location. "We can't move the fleet without being detected." Illyria studied the patterns, her mind working. They're searching. In grids, she murmured. Standard Dominion sweep protocol. She reached into the projection, rotating the image. But they always leave blind spots here. She tapped 2 points near the planet's poles. The officers exchanged glances. One shook his head. Too dangerous. The ice storms up there would tear our ships apart. Not if we use the weather, Illyria countered. She pulled up atmospheric data. The interference would mask our energy signatures. We could slip right past their sensors. Rook rubbed his chin. She's right. We've got those modified freighters with reinforced hulls. They could handle the turbulence. Kessler considered this, then nodded. Make the preparations. But we'll need a distraction. Illyria smiled for the first time in weeks. I have an idea. 2 nights later, alarms blared through New Alexandria. Illyria stood on the command platform wearing a tactical suit, her silver hair tied back tightly. Screens around her showed feeds from across the globe. Phase 1 initiated, a technician called out. Dominion forces are responding to the decoy signals. On the main display, red markers shifted toward several fake distress beacons they'd planted. Illyria watched carefully. Not enough. We need more of their attention. Rook grinned and tapped his earpiece. Light it up, boys. Suddenly, explosions flared across 3 continents, carefully controlled demolitions in abandoned areas, designed to look like rebel attacks. Dominion ships scrambled to investigate. That's our window, Kessler said. Go. Illyria and Rook sprinted to their waiting ship. The modified freighter hummed with power as they strapped in. Around them, other vessels prepared for launch. Remember, Illyria said over the com, stay in the storm's eye. No active scans. Radio silence until we're clear. One by one, the ships lifted off, their thrusters muted to avoid detection. They climbed through the atmosphere, angling toward the North Pole, where dark storm clouds swirled. The freighter shuddered as they hit the first turbulence. Ice crystals pinged against the hull like gunfire. Rook fought the controls, muscles straining. This is worse than we thought. Illyria monitored their position. Stay on course. The worst part will be over in 90 seconds. The ship pitched violently. Warning lights flashed. For a terrifying moment, they hung sideways in the air before Rook wrestled them back under control. Then, suddenly, gom, they burst through the storm into clear space beyond the planet's gravity well. All ships report in, Illyria ordered. One by one, green lights appeared on her display. Every vessel had made it through. Rook let out a whoop. We did it. Now what? Illyria brought up a star chart, her finger tracing a path to a blinking marker. Now we visit an old friend of mine. The display zoomed in on a derelict space station, orbiting a dead star, the last known location of the Cassari resistance. Architecture now, pitted with meteor scars and battle damage. Illyria's breath caught in her throat as their shuttle approached. This was Outpost K7, where her cousin Jaren had made his last stand. Readings show minimal power signatures, Rook reported, scanning the console, but there's something, ... Wait. His fingers flew across the controls. I'm picking up life support activity in the central hub. Illyria strapped on a plasma pistol. Then we're not alone. The shuttle docked with a metallic clang that echoed through the empty corridors. As the airlock hissed open, stale recycled air washed over them, carrying the faint scent of ozone and something metallic. Bloodrook activated his wrist light, the beam cutting through the darkness. Place gives me the creeps, he muttered. How long's it been abandoned? 2 years, Illyria whispered, running her fingers along a wall covered in faded Cassari script. The Dominion thought they wiped everyone out here. She paused at a particular marking, 3 slashes beneath a star symbol, her cousin's personal sigil, but Jaren was always good at hiding. They moved cautiously through the debris-strewn corridors. Suddenly, Rook grabbed Illyria's arm and pointed. A thin red laser beam crossed the hallway just ahead. Tripwire, he mouthed. Illyria nodded and called out in clear Cassari. Jaren, it's Illyria. I come with human allies. Silence. Then a voice echoed from hidden speakers. Prove it. What did you steal from my chambers on your 13th birthday? Illyria smiled faintly. Your Academy medal. Because you said girls couldn't be warriors. A moment later, panel slid open, revealing 3 armed Cassari survivors in patched combat gear. The leader pulled off his helmet, revealing a face strikingly similar to Illyria's, but with a nasty scar running from forehead to chin. Little cousin, Jaren breathed. The Dominion broadcast your execution months ago. Illyria embraced him tightly. They tried. She pulled back to examine his scar. What happened here? Jaren's smile didn't reach his eyes. Dominion interrogation. I escaped. They didn't. He turned to Rook. So these are the famous humans we've heard about. Rook extended a hand. Rook Vance, we've been rebuilding. Jaren studied him for a long moment before shaking his hand. Come, there's something you should see. Deep in the station's core, behind multiple blast doors, lay Secret, a fully operational Cassari battleship, its hull gleaming under work lights. Dozens of technicians swarmed over it making repairs. The last song, Jaren said proudly, only surviving ship of the Royal Fleet. We've kept her hidden, waiting for the right moment. Illyria's eyes widened. She's beautiful. But one ship against the Dominion, ... Not just one, a familiar mechanical voice chimed. A small spherical drone floated down from the ship's hull. Illyria gasped. It was NX-5, her father's personal AI. NX, you survived. The drone bobbed happily. Princess Illyria, I preserved the royal archives and military databases before the fall. It projected a star map showing multiple flashing points. There are others, scattered survivors, hidden bases, waiting for a leader. Rook whistled low. This changes everything. With this ship and our fleet, ... Jaren's grin turned fierce. We can hit them where it hurts. The Dominion's main shipyards at Townine are lightly defended right now. Their fleet is spread thin, putting down rebellions. Illyria exchanged glances with Rook. That's our next target then. She placed a hand on the last song's hull. But first, we need to get your ship spaceworthy. Over the next 48 hours, the station buzzed with activity. Human and Cassari engineers worked side by side, combining technologies in ways neither side had imagined. Rook marveled at how the Cassari plasma drives could be boosted with human reactor designs. You're sure this will work? Rook asked as they stood in the engine room, watching technicians weld the last connections. Jaren clapped him on the back. Trust me, human, when this baby kicks on, the Dominion will think a star just went supernova. Illyria, meanwhile, pored over NX-5's intelligence. With Director Kessler via hologram, the shipyards are here, Kessler pointed, but their real weakness is the supply depot orbiting nearby. Take that out, and their entire sector fleet loses fuel reserves. A plan took shape. The human ships would hit the supply depot as a distraction. While the last song infiltrated the shipyards, Illyria would lead a boarding party to plant explosives on the Dominion's new flagship under construction. As final preparations were made, Illyria found Jaren alone in the observation deck, staring at the stars. Thinking about home, she asked softly. Jaren's jaw tightened. Thinking about revenge. He turned to her. You know we probably won't survive this, right? Even if we succeed, the Dominion will hunt us to the ends of the galaxy. Illyria touched her cousin's scar. Then we make sure it was worth it. The alarm sounded. It was time. Crews scrambled to their stations as the last song's engines roared to life, the hybrid systems humming with barely contained power. Illyria took her place in the command chair, Rook at her side as tactical officer. Jaren stood proud at the helm. All systems green, NX-5 reported. Human fleet reports ready. Illyria took a deep breath. Then let's give the Dominion a night they'll never forget. She nodded to Jaren. Take us out. The station's bay doors opened, revealing the starry blackness beyond. As the last song glided forward, the human ships fell into formation behind her, a ragged but determined armada. Together, they turned toward the jump point that would take them to Townine and into battle. In all its terrible glory, Illyria gripped her command chair as the last song emerged from warp space, her hybrid engines humming smoothly. Before them floated the Dominion shipyards, a sprawling metal hive buzzing with activity, surrounded by half-built warships. Report, Illyria said quietly. Rook scanned the tactical displays. 3 defense platforms, active. Minimal patrols, just like Jaren said. He zoomed in on the massive skeletal frame of a nearly completed Dominion dreadnought at the center of the yard. That's our target. Jaren adjusted their approach vector. Human fleet has successfully drawn away the depot guards. We've got a 20-minute window before reinforcements arrived. NX-5 floated near Illyria's shoulder, projecting a holographic schematic of the shipyard. I've identified the optimal infiltration route. Boarding party should enter here, near the secondary reactor access. Illyria stood, adjusting her combat suit. Then let's move. Rook, you have the bridge. Jaren, with me. As they moved toward the launch bay, the ship shuddered slightly, their stealth systems engaging. Outside the viewports, the stars seemed to bend unnaturally around them as the last song became nearly invisible to sensors. The boarding shuttle was already prepped. 10 human Cassari hybrid commandos standing at attention. Illyria checked her plasma rifle while Jaren distributed explosives. Remember, Illyria told the team, we're not here to destroy the shipyard completely. Just the new flagship. The Dominion needs to see we can hit them anywhere, anytime. The shuttle launched silently, slipping through the shipyard's defensive screens like a shadow. As they approached the half-built dreadnought, Illyria's stomach tightened. Up close, the vessel was even more massive than she'd imagined, easily 5 times the size of the last song. Dominion engineering at its finest, Jaren muttered. Big, brutal, and ugly. Their shuttle docked with a barely audible clang. The team moved quickly through empty corridors, following NX-5's guidance. The skeleton crew present never knew what hit them. Silent takedowns at every intersection. Illyria planted the first explosive pack near the ship's main power coupling. This should make quite the fireworks display, she whispered, setting the timer. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the shipyard. Red emergency lights flashed. Someone tripped a sensor. Jaren hissed, "We've got company incoming." Illyria tapped her comm. "Rook, we're compromised. Need extraction in 5. Rook's voice crackled back. "Negative. Dominion reinforcements just warped in early. We're engaging, but the transmission cut off as the entire shipyard shook violently." Through a nearby viewport, Illyria saw brilliant explosions erupting near the supply depot, the human fleet making their presence known. "No time," she decided. "Set all charges for remote detonation. We're taking this ship now." The team raced toward the Dreadnought's bridge, exchanging fire with suddenly alert Dominion guards. Plasma bolts scorched the walls as they advanced. One of their human commandos went down, clutching a burned shoulder. Jaren kicked open the bridge doors, taking out 2 surprise technicians with precise shots. Illyria moved to the main console, plugging in NX5. "Can you do it?" she asked the AI. NX5's lights flickered rapidly. "Accessing ... Yes. I have control." Outside, the half-built Dreadnought's engines flared to life unexpectedly. Across the shipyard, Dominion crews scrambled in confusion as the massive vessel began moving under its own power. Illyria grinned fiercely. "Let's give them a show." The stolen Dreadnought plowed through construction gantries and support structures, its unfinished hull shedding debris like metallic rain. Warning sirens wailed across the shipyard as critical systems failed in its wake. "New plan," Illyria shouted into her comm. "We're bringing you a present." On the last song's bridge, Rook whooped as he saw the massive Dreadnought lurching toward them, Dominion fighters swarming around it like angry insects. "I see you." Forming up on your starboard side, the 2 ships, one sleek and nimble, one monstrous and half-built, flew in tandem toward the jump point, the human fleet covering their retreat. Behind them, the timed explosions began detonating throughout the shipyard, secondary blasts rippling through fuel stores and ammunition depots. As they reached safe distance, Illyria gave the order. "Now, NX." The AI triggered the remaining explosives planted throughout the Dreadnought. The massive ship detonated spectacularly, the shockwave damaging pursuing Dominion vessels. Back aboard the last song, Illyria and her team received roaring cheers. Rook clasped her shoulder. "That was either the stupidest or bravest thing I've ever seen." Jaren wiped sweat from his brow. "Why not both?" NX5 projected the damage reports. "The Tau 9 shipyards are 78% destroyed. Dominion fleet production in this sector will be crippled for months." Illyria studied the star maps, her expression hardening. "Good, but this was just one victory. The Dominion will retaliate hard." She turned to Rook. "It's time we took the fight to them properly." Rook nodded. "Director Kessler's been assembling our full forces at the rendezvous point. With the last song and what we've salvaged today... Jaren finished the thought. "We might actually have a fleet worth a name." As the ships prepared for the next jump, Illyria stood at the observation deck, watching the burning shipyard fade into the distance. Somewhere out there, the Dominion High Command was receiving reports of this attack. Let them wonder, she thought, let them fear. The stars blurred as the last song entered warp space again, carrying its crew toward destiny, toward war, toward revenge.